There. Hello. I'm sure if he's supposed to learn something to say. Help them to you with these things. My mom's name is Elvira, and she turned 70 this year. And when you get to a certain age, I guess you look back in your life and you try to see how it went. And my mom, I had this conversation with her. She talks about retirement. She talks about all these things, and she talks about what she wished she would have done. She talks about, I wish I would have done a little more of this or a little more of that. If you ever have the chance to get to meet my mom, she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. She's lived a very full life, in my estimate. And so when I hear her talk about this, sometimes I think it's a perspective. I don't know if she's looking at her life in the same way I do or other people might. And so when she starts talking, I ask her, well, what did you want? Like, if you could have planned your life, like, what was missing? And she said, well, I wish I would have made a little more money or I saved a little more money. And I said, well, that's something you can work on. And she still loves her job. And I said, but think about it. You had a family. She was a big family in Colombia. And she has my brother and I. And I asked her, what did you want that was different? And she said, well, she was divorced, but she said, I wouldn't have changed that because if I hadn't met your father, I would have had you. And you and your brother are the most important part of my life, so I guess that's the way I would wish it would have been. I said, okay. Well, what about work? My mom, she's had her own business for the last 30 years, and she loves what she does. She's her own boss. When she wants to go on vacation, she doesn't drop a hat. And she loves that. And no one tells her what to do, and she enjoys what she does. People come to her, she's an esthetician, so facials and permanent makeup, and they leave happy. And I said, well, what did you want? And she said, well, I guess I don't have a lot to complain about in that regard. And she's traveled Europe and South America. And I just asked her, what did you want that you didn't have? And she starts crying. In Spanish, she says llorona. But she cries at the drop of a hat too. And she says, well, thank you so much for seeing your mom that way. And I said, well, sometimes you need someone else to give you a different perspective. And I ask myself too, sometimes, what am I missing? Someone to look and help me see what I'm missing. My wife is here, she does that for me too, and she helps me see sometimes things I don't see. And I guess the question for all of us is, what are we missing? And so that's kind of what this series is sort of about. Now, when I got married, I like trying new things, I like experiencing new things, and I try to use all the senses I can to make it as fun as possible. So I normally want someplace to eat, that's always fun. But the first time I tried this with my wife is a little less adventurous than I am. I like to try new things. And so the first time I tried this, we went to a Korean spa. And my wife works really hard, and I thought it would be a good way to unwind. So we went to this Korean spa, and I didn't exactly know what we were all in for. And so this was my first failure. But I tried again, and so for the gentleman, it was great. It was like hot and cold rooms and warm floors, and like the music and stuff was on, and it was like you could meet the massage person, they take care of you. It was great. For the women, it was a different experience. So apparently, you go naked when you change there, and that was not what my wife was expecting. And then 3 older women offered to scrub her head to toe, and when I was planning this out, that wasn't the plan I had. So I don't give up very easily. My wife finds out. I just keep trying. And so I planned something else. And Opaque was the next thing I tried. And Opaque is a restaurant in Santa Monica. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a real fun and interesting idea. My wife had heard of it, and she'd mentioned it to me. And what it is, all the servers are blind. Whether they were born that way or they became blind, but they are. And when you go there, you eat in the dark. And so essentially there's zero light, and people come and they take you in there and you can't see anything. And so it was a very interesting idea. And sorry, I just posted, so you see moving and what I'm doing. I'm not just hand playing behind this. And so I thought it was an interesting idea. My wife's birthday was in December, so we went. And we didn't know what to expect except what we had read about it. And so we show up, and it's a really pretty place. On the inside, it has like a nice little lit lounge. And so we were talking there, and the hostess comes to us, and the hostess says, "Are you ready to go in?" And we said, "Sure." And our server comes out, and our server's name is Raphael. And you might never meet Raphael, but in your head, if you picture Edward James Olmos, that's what he looks like. And oddly enough, he sounded just like him too. So he might have been acting, but it looked like him. And so we get there, and there's these curtains behind him. And he says, "If you guys are ready," and he turns around and he says, "Why don't you just put your hand on my shoulder, and everyone can do the same. And we're just going to go in and just try to stay close." And so we go on a little train of people, and we walk through, and the curtains open, and it's dark. And I don't mean dark like, when you hit the lights in your room, you dive into your bed at night, dark. It's there's no ambient light, there's nothing. And so when the last person goes through and the curtains close, it's done. And you're thinking for a second, maybe your eyes will adjust. But they don't. There's no like, give it a minute. It's not like that. And so we're walking along, and you try to feel for things because you just assume that's what you would do. And there was a wall, and we went around and we twisted, and eventually we sat down. And Raphael was really nice. He tells us, "Can you give me your hand?" And we place it on the table. He says, "This is your seat." And when you figure it out, you sit down, and he says, "Just in front of you is your plate, to your side is your fork, and above that is your drink." And he's very calm, matter of fact. And we all sit down, and when it comes to being blind, we all have a really low resolution of what it might be. We think we know what it is, and we wake up in the morning and we can't see. I don't know if you guys do this when you look with your glasses, for those who have it, like that, or if you squint for your alarm clock. Sometimes we can see, but we manage to still bump our feet and hit our toes, and we do all these matter of things. And so we have a really, really vague idea of what it's like to be blind. But it hit me a little bit. I have eyes, and in this situation, they don't matter at all. I can't see anything. And Raphael, who can't see at all, manages it as if he could. And I think a lot of the times that we rely on certain senses to feel the world and know what it's like, and we're blind. And sometimes it takes someone else to show us that. For me, it was a blind server in Santa Monica who took me to where I needed to be, using a sense that I never really developed that much. And he knew it. And I think to our own ages, we're blind sometimes, and even to God. And there's a verse in the Bible that I think about sometimes when I tell myself, sometimes it'd be nice to see God, like just right there, and then have your faith affirmed in every visual sense, and point at someone else and say, "See, that's what I've been looking at the whole time." And there's this verse in Exodus 33:20. It says, "But he said, 'You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live.'" And I thought about that for a while, and I was thinking, I don't know if this ever happened to you, where someone flips on the light when you're asleep. And when you're asleep, your eyes dilate so that you can see even the littlest bit of light it gives you something to look at. Well, when someone turns that light on, the first reaction is to turn the light off. That happens to my mom. Used to wake up. It happens. And so, the first thing you do is you turn away and you close your eyes and you tell them to turn it off, or if the sun goes right through your blinds and hits you. And it hurts, and it's painful, and you can't stand to see it. And I thought, well, if that's just that kitchen light or that bedroom light, how much greater would God be for us? It hurts to see that light. It would kill us, being in a sinful state, to see God the way He is. And so I think it's more for our protection. You just couldn't handle it, and I love you enough where you're going to have to see me in a different way. And I'm going to watch out for you, because you need to see me, but you need to see it in a way that won't hurt you. And I think, Raphael sees a lot clearer than some of us do sometimes, and it was good to know that. Another thing about the restaurant is you don't order. when you go, you can tell them, like, my wife's allergic to cashews and pistachios, deadly allergic, and so I tell them, I said, and any dietary restrictions, you can let them know, but you don't order. You sit down, and your server, Raphael, he'll come out, and he'll say, all right, well, here's your first course, here's your second course, here's your main dish, here's this. And then we said, well, what is it? You really should find out. And so what do you gotta do? Well, in this situation, first thing is I grabbed my fork and I realized it's a hand-eye issue. I don't have this anymore, so it's just me poking at the table for a few minutes. And so I thought, okay, so let me just go back to basics. And I sit there, and he says, enjoy, take your time, see what it's like. And so, it's had a savory type of smell, I guess you could say, but it felt a little fibrous. And what else are you going to do at that point? Just bite into it, and it was crunchy and soft inside. And so we're sitting there, we're trying to figure it out. We're asking, what is it? We're trying to guess. And then a few minutes later, after we've all finished, Raphael comes by and he says, so what do you think? He didn't tell him what it was. He said, what do you think? Well, I don't know. Like maybe some kind of lettuce. I don't know. Maybe that's close. And I forget but it was some South American dish or something that he had brought us. And it was all this nice fine, it was tasty. And so we went through the whole rest of the dinner where he would ask us, what did you think? How was it? And it was a really unique experience because you're so used to seeing a menu. And I always think of something. I always think, you choose the thing you want. But when you choose the thing you want, you don't choose everything else. So you kind of limit your options. I don't know if you ever do this where you say, you get this and I get that, and you try them. My brother's really good at that. This is like that. And my brother will taste everyone's dish. But, we tend to choose things, and by choosing, we exclude everything else. And so this was a really interesting because I didn't get to make that choice, and I got to sample everything they brought. And we would share and say, hey, we'll try some of this, we'll try some of that. And so it was really good, and I thought there's so much in life. You don't get to choose a lot. You don't get to choose everything. You don't get to choose your parents, or, where you're born, or how, what time you come in. But when we do have choices, they really matter. And there's a verse in John 6:35, and it says, "Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And in that situation, we didn't know exactly what it was, and that might not have been the way we've eaten 99.9% of our life. It was there. It was the nourishment that was offered, and it's what our body needs. And I think how often, God has so much for us, and we're really selective and choosy. Sometimes we pick the thing that's maybe not the most nutrient for us, and we pick it because someone else had it, or we thought we should, and we exclude a lot of things that God might have had for us. And I think our spiritual nourishment, sometimes, I thought of this in terms, I have a friend who's a chef, and, when I was growing up, Mama needs some Brussels sprouts. Like, my mom, they came out of a can. I should see this. They came out of a can, and asparagus, too. I never liked any of this when I was a kid, because they came out of a can. That's how tasty they were. And so we went to my friend's place, and he made Brussels sprouts for us. And we were like, and what he does is he shelled them, seasoned them, and he just went for a second fry them. And so he brought them onto us, and we're looking at it, and we're like, and they were so fantastic. And we ate it. My wife and I couldn't understand why we just cleared off a place of Brussels sprouts. And then I thought, when it comes to the Bible, those are all the ingredients God gave us to work with. And some people, as far as a spiritual chef, shouldn't be cooking. And we've eaten so many of these dishes throughout our life, and it left a bad taste. And we're really blessed. Brandon does such a good job here. He's like our Guy Fieri of spiritualism. And so, oftentimes, when we taste something that's palatable, and it's all the right stuff, and it feels like this is what I should have been eating all the time. Brussels sprouts. And it was good for me, and it was good for you. And it's something that you don't always come to that conclusion early in your life. And when you're older, you sometimes like things you don't like when you're younger. And now, it's a good dish. One of the last things about this was, my wife and I, we go to every once in a while, and we don't exclude ourselves from this, but it happens. Where when you glance around at the tables, you'll notice that some more heads are down than they are. I don't know if this is a strange thing. And what happens is we're so visually stimulated, things catch our eye. You see that sports score, you see this, you see that. And you go to like a Buffalo Wild Wings and there's TVs on the wall. There's enough distractions. And so one thing about Opaque that was really nice is that when you sit down, there's no light that prompts you. You pull out a cell phone, there'll be 20 people going, shut down. You're ruining the experience. And so you put that cell phone away, and you just don't want to do that anymore. And so it really does that positive peer pressure where you're just going to be there. And you're sitting there beside people you care, you love, and well, now I guess we're just going to talk. And I'm just going to break bread with you, and I'm just going to fellowship. And I don't have this distraction that in this situation it's not okay to use. But outside of the rest of the world, everyone, most people do it. And we're just being together. And it's dark, and so we're just sitting there, we're talking, and it was just great. It was 2 hours of being together. And I thought, how important that is, that some of the last things that Jesus did was he spent time with people he cared most about. And he ate with them, and he broke bread with them. And that was so valuable, it was worth it to do. I know all of us, we talked about what we do if we had a day left to live. We may have a bunch of things, but I think all of us, at the end of the day, would say we want to be with people we care about. And so that 2 hours of no distractions, no cell phones, none of that, it was great. We just got to be together. And I think that's something that you gain and you lose. I don't think you ever get anymore. I think you choose and sacrifice. And I think the technology is so great. Teaching, the kids can do such amazing things, but they sacrifice something to have. And so I think we lose some of that kinship, where we sit down and we're just together. And I can see you and you can see me, and I'm just listening to you listening. It's great. And I think it's something just to be reared in a place like Opaque. It's something that you really feel. And you get something, you'd sacrifice technology to get it back, and it was a really good sacrifice. It's one of those things where you didn't feel like you lost too much at all. And Romans 12:2, it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." That every time you have a chance to be with other people, your mind grows. And I think the distractions in life, they take something as they give it to you, and I think we don't always realize what we lost in that moment. My mom's 70, she won't be around forever. Being on a cell phone around her is probably not my best use of the time with her. And so, I wouldn't want to trade a minute on a cell phone. I wouldn't want to take that and exchange it for that minute with her. I'd rather just be with her and my wife and my family. And I think that's something where when you lose a sense you rely on so much, you just have to find God and the rest of the world in another way. My dad's turned 80, my mom turned 70, and so, one day they're going to be gone, and I will have to experience a fatherly, motherly love in another way. That sense will be there, and I'm so grateful. Our worship leader, second leader, he said something like, God gave you that time with them. It's exactly what it is. I only have so long with them. It's a gift every second. And when I can't see them anymore, and I can't hug them anymore, and I can't touch them anymore, it was a gift. Because you cannot buy it. I can't get it back. And so, I think because we can't directly see God, we can indirectly see Him and feel Him and get to know Him through other people. I would say that using all our senses is really just a gift, and whether it's through a joke or a hug or whatever it might be, we may be blind, but it doesn't mean we can't see.